Hi everybody, I hope you're all doing well. It's a really gloomy kind of a day today, this Sunday. It's the 26th of January, my god, this month is flying by, but I'm looking forward to getting paid on Friday. Yay! It feels like it's been a really long month, but I think maybe that's because with me due to start my new job soon, I've been trying to get as much work done as possible to clear a load of tasks so that when I go over to my new job, I'll, be clear of all those tasks and I'm not handing stuff over. So it feels like every day at work I'm doing so much stuff. It's crazy, but I'm slowly but surely getting there, and 10th of Feb is when I start doing my transition over to my new job, so yeah, very exciting. So it's just been a week of me just being extremely busy as usual, doing work and watching The Traitors, which the series 3 finished only a couple of days ago, and I really enjoyed series 3. I thought it was great. But anyway, I'm here to talk about the book I've been reading this week, which is Deception, a short story collection by Roald Dahl, which was compiled by Penguin Books. So back in 2016, I think it was, Penguin announced that they were going to be doing collections of Roald Dahl's short stories, and the book would be titled based on the theme. And I got Deception when I went to the Cheltenham Literature Festival and attended an event talking about Roald Dahl's short stories, and everyone got a copy of one of the books. It was completely at random. You got the book on your chair when you turned up, and there's several different themes, and I got Deception, and it's just sat on my bookshelf and I haven't picked it up until now, so let's talk about it. So Roald Dahl, obviously very, very well-known children's author, also wrote stories for adults, and I think he always had this kind of macabre sense to his writing, even in his children's books. If you look at books like James the Giant Peach, James is abused in multiple different ways by his aunts. If you look at Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Willy Wonka is a nasty man. He really, really, truly is. He's a dark, sinister character. There are so many other books where you have similar things. The ones that just come straight to mind are like Fantastic Mr. Fox, where the farmers are just pure evil to him. George's Marvelous Medicine, with his aunt, who he doesn't get along with, and decides to teach her a lesson by swapping out his medication for his own, and what transpires there is quite interesting. Matilda, her parents are really obnoxious to her, as is Miss Trunchbull, the head of the school that she attends. There's so many dark, macabre things in his stories that he brings, and obviously for children he's put those things in because of being aware that these things happen in the world, but also it's the adversity of the children, the fight for the right thing, which is a theme that goes through his various books. But then when it comes to his adults, he's like, well, you're adults, I get to play here. This is my playground of fun, macabre things. And you can really see that in his short stories. Now, I'd only read a couple of his short stories before, and I'd seen like episodes of Tales of the Unexpected and such where they had dramatized those stories. But yeah, I hadn't read a short story of his for so many years I can't remember, and one of those short stories I had read before that has just stuck with me because it's so genius is in this book, and it's called Lamb to the Slaughter. And I was reading it last night and I was like, my god, I forgot how good he is at writing these stories. The thing about Roald Dahl is that he, especially with the short stories, because he's only got a limited amount of time, he chooses his words so carefully. A load of these books are, these stories in this book are set in like this time of year, in like wintry kind of time. So he talks about like the wind slashing and stabbing and such, and it's like, oh yeah. But even when in other locations where it's bright and sunny and such, he talks about, you know, the harshness of the burning of the sun and such as that. Every single location has this macabre terminology to it, and I love that in all of these stories. I'll quickly talk about each of the stories. I'd give you like a really quick synopsis of them. There's 10 of them. So My Lady Love My Dove is about a couple who are having guests over for the weekend, and the wife of the couple decides, oh, won't it be fun to plant a microphone in their bedroom and listen to their conversations? Yes, that really does happen. It's just like, when I read that, I was like, oh, okay, this is an interesting way to start a story, but let's go with it. The Mildenhall Treasure is about a farmer who is employed to plough a field, and in doing so the plough fork catches on something that's 12 inches deep down in the ground, only for him to discover that it is a silver plate, and he reports it to the field owner, because obviously it's not his field. He's just been employed to be able to just plough this field in this acre of land, and it's about what the owner does with that plate and other things that get found in the ground. Parson's Pleasure. I loved Parson's Pleasure. It made me think so much of Alan Bennett's Talking Head story, The Hand of God. If you know that story, then you can kind of guess what this ends up happening in this book. But yeah, if you haven't read or you haven't listened to, because they're all dramatized, Alan Bennett's Talking Heads, please do. They are all brilliant. But Parson's Pleasure is about a parson who goes, he's interested in antiques, and he goes to a sale and finds this table that catches his eye, because he knows very well how much that table is worth, and it's about him trying to get that table for as little money as possible, and the consequences of that action. Frigging loved that story. The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. Now, this is a weird one. This is the longest one in this collection. It's about a guy who learns that there was this person who claimed that he could see without using his eyes. By using this form of yoga, he was able to open up his mind and be able to have these abilities to see things that other people couldn't. So he could tell, with his eyes closed, someone sat across from him with a bunch of cards. He could tell exactly what those cards were. He could predict the future. He could tell you things that were going on behind it with his eyes, all that kind of thing. And he's like, oh, I want to learn to do that, but I want to learn in order to go to Vegas and win a lot of money. And it's all about him learning this ability and the consequences again of his actions for doing that. The Umbrella Man. Oh my God, I found the Umbrella Man so sad. And I love the fact, this is the thing with Roald Dahl, because of his complexity of characters, especially adult characters in his adult stories, he is able to look at something and then add a question mark to it, going, what do you see here? Do you see someone who is deceiving, or do you see someone who is desperate? Why are they doing this? And such. For a lot of people, characters and such in the stories I've told you about, it's to do with greed. But in this one, I think it's more of holding up a mirror to society. And Umbrella Man is about a woman and her daughter who are in London. It's like the 1960s, 50s, 60s. It starts raining, and they're waiting for a taxi, and they're getting wet and all this stuff. And this old frail man comes over and with an umbrella and kind of holds it above them and says, look, I'm old, I'm tired, I'm really kind of confused, I'm not sure, I need to get home, but I've lost my wallet, I don't have any money. If I give you this expensive silk umbrella, will you give me a £1 note to get home? And it's all about the decision that they make and the consequence of that decision. But there is something so brilliant about the way that story. I keep thinking book, and it's like, well, it's not a book, but this is a book, but it's a short story within a book. The way that he ends it, oh my God, I had to sit back for a minute and go, wow, that was so interesting. The final line of that story is perfect, because it's about desperation, why this thing is happening. It's just, oh, chef's kiss. I love it. The Bookseller. Now, the Bookseller was a bit like, excuse me, okay. I will warn you, the Bookseller is one where a man and his assistant have this bookshop that is visited by lots of people, and they keep a log of people who they sell books to, because this is back in like the 1950s, 60s again, where it's not like automated systems and such. They deliver high quality books to various people, so they take home addresses and such and send them on. And when they hear that one of their customers has passed away, they decide to contact the family, the widow of the man who has passed away, because it's mainly men who come to their store, because obviously at that time it was more, men bought books for their own pleasure, not women, etc. And yeah, so they write to the widow and say, your husband had an outstanding bill for us. I hate to contact you, but you owe us money. Here is an itemized list of everything that they purchased. And the itemized list are some books that are truly shocking titles. I will put it that way. I'm like, oh my God, publishers today would not publish those titles. And the fact that a load of them, it says illustrated edition, and even referred to, this book is banned in the UK. It's just like, you can imagine what those books are, scandalous books, in order to get money out of the widows. And it's the story of the consequence of those choices that then happens at the end of the story. Oh, Vengeance is Mine Incorporated. I didn't like Vengeance is Mine Incorporated. It's basically about two guys who realised that they could make money by basically advertising their services. Like, do you want to get revenge on someone? Say you want to give them a black eye or whatever. Employ us and we'll do that for you. So yeah, they decide to be the middleman of people wanting to get revenge on other people. And yeah, again, it's a consequence of action thing. The ending I thought was a bit of a dud. It wasn't... I expected more from Roald Dahl, just simply because he could have gone to a dark place with that story. In a way, you could say it is kind of dark, but compared to other stories and such, the things that he could have come up with, it really wasn't. So yeah, I kind of felt like, oh, if only there was some real stinger in the tail of that story, I think that would have been a lot stronger, but unfortunately there wasn't. So yeah, it's not my favourite. Land to the Slaughter is my favourite story in this collection. Land to the Slaughter is so brilliant. If you haven't read it, find it, read it. It is so good. So Land to the Slaughter is about a woman who is a 1950s housewife who is pregnant, and her husband is a police officer. So she is a housewife. Every day she cleans, she cooks, she creates, sorts out dinner for her husband when he gets home. It's everything is picture perfect. And then one day he comes home and it's implied that he's asked for a divorce. It's not explicitly stated, but it's implied. And she gets upset. She goes down to the freezer and pulls out this lamb leg in order to cook it for dinner. And he goes, "What are you doing?" "No, I'm going out for dinner." And the snap choice that she then makes changes everything for the course of her life. And the ending is just perfection. I love Lamb to the Slaughter. I think it's well, I say this as I've only read this collection, and of other short stories I've only seen like occasional episodes of adaptations of. This is one of, if not the most macabre story, I think, of the short stories that I know of Roald Dahl's. There are some really twisted ones out there, I know, but as I said, of the ones that I know of, there is actually one of these collections is called Cruelty, so I might have to have a look into which ones are in that collection, because yeah, that would be really quite interesting. If I'm saying this is like one of the most macabre and this is under deception, what have they put under Cruelty? I don't know. I'll have to find that one out. But Lamb to Slaughter is so perfect. It doesn't surprise me that people study it when they're looking into Roald Dahl and short story writing techniques, because it's so brilliant. Mr. Botibol, Mr. Botibol was okay, but it was just very weird. It kind of reminded me of the Henry Sugar one. So Mr. Botibol, it has this weird thing where he builds like a concert hall in his living room and pretends to put on concerts each night, and it's about him, his friendship that he develops with this woman, and will he let her into his secret world of doing these concerts from his living room, these imaginary concerts. It's very weird. I wasn't that fond of it. I get why he wrote it, but then at the same time, it just feels like this is kind of niche and a bit quirky and a bit weird, and I wasn't all that fond of it. And then last one, Man from the South. Man from the South was really more of a psychological gameplay. So it's about a guy who is in a bar and he gets approached by this old man who's like, and he has this cigar and he's playing with a lighter and such, and that his lighter isn't working, and they strike up this conversation. It goes on for a bit, and then the old man decides to bet with this man, and he goes, I bet you that you can't light this lighter 10 times in a row with your right hand. And he's like, okay, what's the bet? And he said, well, if you can't, it's to do with, like, if you can do it, then you get your car, which sounds really weird, but yeah, okay. And if you can't do it, I'll get your finger. And he's like, what? It's just like, for some bizarre reason, he decides to take this bet, and it's all to do with what happens during the course of those 10 attempts to light the lighter. So it's a weird one. It's a weird one to end the book on as well. I know it's a short story collection, and I don't know why they decided the order that they did, but I think it would have been stronger if they put Lamb to the Slaughter last. But then it would just be me, that because I didn't get along with it as well as other people. I mean, it's not a bad story, but it's okay. It's okay. But I love Lamb to the Slaughter. It's got such a punch to it. But yeah, maybe other people feel more strongly about Man from the South than I do, and therefore would say, well, actually, I think this book ends on a really strong point. But each to their own. But that's basically the synopsis of each of the 10 stories within this collection. Overall, I really thoroughly enjoyed reading these. It was actually nice just to have like a little a mini story to read each day and such, and every couple of days throughout the week, and then I binge read the last of them yesterday after doing my various house tasks and such. It was nice just to have this little slice of story. But sometimes I got stories where I'm like, oh, this is like the end of the second act, we're going to go into the third act, and then it just ended. Some of these stories are literally only like less than 10 pages long, and then Harry Sugar one in the middle is about 60 or 70 pages long, so they really do vary in length throughout. It's a decent collection. I didn't get to like the end of one and go, oh, I don't want to carry on with this now. I really loved reading all of these different stories and meeting all of these different characters. Roald Dahl is incredibly engaging with his stories, and I love the fact that he's very much, twisting of the knife and seeing how far the knife will resist definitely goes through. You can totally understand, because I love Inside Number 9. If you haven't looked at Inside Number 9, please do. They are incredible, which is a television show, just to clarify. I can understand how Reece Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton were influenced by writers such as Roald Dahl and The Tales of the Unexpected. It's the way that he can just bring about a really quite twisted characters and stories and structures into these story collections. It's brilliant. As I said, like even in situations where you have, it's lovely, it's warm, it's sunny, etc. There's his terminology that he used always has a sharpness, like a stabbing motion to it. His sentence structures are quite short, which adds to that kind of like stabbing, ruthless kind of motion. Characters in this are ones that you would not expect to be deceitful people. I mean, we have got people of all different classes. We have people of all different jobs. Like I said, we've got people who are, we've got a parson, we've got people who are quite high status, wealthy landowners. We've got booksellers. We have got ordinary housewives, and all, just people from all over the place with all different levels of society, with all different socioeconomic classifications and such. He doesn't just look at one particular group, and I really love that. It shows that the deceit can come from anywhere, from anyone, and you can't really look out for them because you never know what deceit is happening where or when. And that's what I love, the brilliance of his stories. And that's, I can understand the influence that he has had on other people. And like I said, even looking at his children's stories, if you read them as adults, you can really see characters who are heroes are not necessarily heroes. They have their own levels of complexities and such. And as I said, Willy Wonka's the key one. He is really quite a nasty man. When you look at it, it's I just love that Roald Dahl never made his characters 2D. Even if they're minor, they have their own structures and complexities, and I love that. It makes them more real. And that's why when you have stories like these about deception, if you cannot see it, what is happening, then he has done his job perfectly. And I love that about him. I just thought Penguin did a really great job compiling these 10 books. They definitely are on the theme of deception for sure. Just I gathered that there were going to be some that I wouldn't get along with, and that was true. But there were ones that I found just so intriguing, like the Umbrella Man. I cannot get over the Umbrella Man. It's so interesting, and it made me feel so sad for him. And there's this moment, I'm not going to say what it is or why, that he has this kind of euphoria moment where he just feels just this comfort. And then very slowly the darkness creeps over and he comes back to the reality of what he's doing, of where he is and such. And it's like, right, I've had that hit, I need it again. And the cycle carries on. And it is just so brilliant that he's holding up a mirror to society going, this happens. This is what is going on here in this society. Ask yourself, why is he doing it? Why is he there? Why is this happening? And it just made me feel incredibly sad thinking about the possibilities of this man's life. I just sat and I thought about it for a long time. And to be honest, I'm still thinking about it, which shows it's made an impact. So I think Roald Dahl did an exceptional job with these short stories, even though there were ones I didn't necessarily get along with. And I think I need to look into others. So there we go. Those are my thoughts on Deception by Roald Dahl, a collection of short stories gathered by Penguin Books. So would I read this again? Yes, I definitely would. And as I said, I think I need to look into the other Roald Dahl short story collections. Would I recommend this to anyone? Yeah, definitely. If you want to read a collection of short stories that are quite twisted and sinister and such, then yeah, go for it. Would I read any more Roald Dahl's books? Well, yes, of course. I've read a load of his books, his children's books, but not his adult ones. And I definitely would want to look into the other ones, especially because there's like themes of like madness and lust and cruelty and such in these collections. So I'd like to get hold of the other ones and see what I think of them. Now, when it comes to adaptations, just very quickly, of these short stories, there are various ones thereabout. I mean, the Hand Sugar one was adapted for Netflix by Wes Anderson in 2023 with Benedict Cumberbatch. A load of these were filmed for Tales of the Unexpected in the 1970s, so there's loads of TV ones out there. There's also radio versions, but I did try and find the radio versions and I wasn't able to find them, unfortunately. And of course you can get the audiobooks of these particular Penguin collections as well. So there are a range of adaptations of Roald Dahl's short stories, but mainly the Tales of the Unexpected in the 1970s are out there for you to find. So yeah, if you're interested in looking for adaptations, choose the ones that you want, and I'd say you do some research and try and track them down, because yeah, they are out there, but they're not necessarily all out there, if you see what I mean. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Deception by Roald Dahl. Have you read this book collection? I'd love to know what you think. Leave a comment in the comments box below. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Totally, I'll let you decide. And I'll be on my thought, my next read, which I'm very, very excited, which is The Fellowship of Puzzle Makers by Samuel Byrd. This is Samuel's debut novel, and I just love the cover. Oh my god, this cover is just so friggin' beautiful, and the cut out, the jigsaw, and oh my god, I just fell in love with this as soon as I saw this book, and I'm like, yeah, I finally get to read it. I'm so excited. So I'll be back with my thoughts on The Fellowship of Puzzle Makers by Samuel Byrd as soon as I'm done. All right then, everyone. Bye.